All right, so passports, it's like that little book. That little book can feel like a golden ticket to the world. We're doing a deep dive on passport power rankings today,
Hmm.
using the 10 most powerful passports in the world article from 10 Most today.
Okay.
We'll unpack what makes some passports, mightier than others. I mean, is it just about how many countries you can go to without a visa? Or is there a bigger story there? And get this,
Yeah.
that this Luxembourger can waltz right into 177 countries without a visa. But is that the whole picture?
I think it's a really interesting point you raise
Yeah.
because having a powerful passport is about way more than just like visa-free travel.
Oh,
You know,
dear.
it reflects a whole tapestry of things about a country's global reputation, economic strength, and even how much personal freedom its citizens enjoy.
So it's like a passport's power is sort of a measure of how the world sees your country, not just how easily you can like get through customs.
Exactly. And the article uses two different systems to rank these passports. The Nomad Capitalist Passport Index
Mm.
and the Henley Passport Index. And they both tackle this idea of power a little differently.
Okay.
So the Henley Index is laser focused on those visa-free travel numbers,
Ah, okay.
whereas the Nomad Capitalist Index takes a wider lens and factors in things like global perception, taxation, personal freedom, alongside visa-free travel.
So one is all about like how many stamps you can collect, and the other one is about what it's like to actually be a citizen of that country.
Precisely. And that's why you see some interesting differences in the top 10 rankings from these two indexes.
Like Luxembourg topping the Nomad Capitalist Index.
Uh-huh.
I mean, 177 countries without a visa. Sign me up. What is it about Luxembourg that contributes to this incredible passport power?
Well, one thing that stands out is their unique multiple citizenship policy. They're actually quite open to people holding multiple citizenships, which combined with their squeaky clean global reputation and high levels of personal freedom for citizens, you know, all add up to that top spot.
So it's almost like they're saying, hey, world, we're a great place to be. Come on in.
You could say that. Now, on the Henley Index, Japan takes the crown with visa-free access to a whopping 180 countries.
Wow. That's a lot of open doors. And we see a lot of, other Asian countries like Singapore climbing the ranks too. So it seems like the balance of global power is shifting.
It's true. The rise of Asian countries in these rankings is pretty significant, and it reflects the growing global influence and mobility coming from that region, partly fueled by all these new visa waiver agreements they've been signing.
Singapore always blows my mind. I mean, it's a tiny city state, and yet they're right up there with the big players. What's their secret?
I think it's a mix of things, you know. They've got savvy economic policies, a stable political environment, and they're really committed to engaging with the world. All of that adds up to, serious passport power.
It's incredible how much a country's passport can really reveal about its place in the world. And speaking of powerhouses, we can't forget about Europe. They've got some serious passport clout.
Yeah,
The article mentions Germany, Ireland, Portugal, Finland, Sweden, Denmark, France, Italy, and Spain, all consistently in the top 10.
right.
It feels like no matter which ranking you look at, those European countries are always holding strong.
They are. And for good reason. Think about it. Europe has robust economies, well-established diplomacy, and a high standard of personal freedom. Plus, being part of the EU gives them that free movement within the Schengen area, which is a huge bonus.
Yeah. Does a powerful passport actually make people happier?
Ooh.
Because you see a lot of, these European countries like Ireland, for example,
Right,
are
right.
also known for their high happiness rankings. Is there a correlation?
It's a fascinating question, isn't it? Does the freedom to travel and experience the world contribute to overall happiness? Or is it just a reflection of other things that make a nation happy, like strong social support or economic security? It's a complex issue, and I don't think there's a simple answer.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to shift gears a bit.
Okay,
We've been focusing a lot on the top dogs.
right.
But what about those countries whose passport power is changing? I mean, after all, it's not a static system, right? I'm particularly curious about Malta. They've made some serious gains in the rankings recently. What's behind that?
Malta's rise is definitely an interesting case study. A lot of it has to do with their citizenship by investment program.
Okay.
It's attracted a wave of wealthy individuals, which in turn has boosted their passport power.
Hold on. So a country can actually boost its passport power through policy decisions. It's not just about inherent qualities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Malta is a prime example. Offering citizenship in exchange for investment has strengthened their economy and given them, more global standing.
So there's actually a strategic element to all of this.
Mhm.
That makes sense, but it also makes you realize that maybe just focusing on visa-free travel doesn't tell the whole story.
You hit the nail on the head. It's just one piece of the puzzle. To really understand a passport's power, you need to consider the bigger picture. Personal freedom, economic opportunity, and how the world perceives that country. Imagine a passport that lets you travel anywhere, but you don't have basic freedoms at home.
Yeah.
Is that truly a powerful passport? I don't think so.
That's a great point. It's about more than just, stamps in your passport. It's about what those stamps represent, the opportunities they unlock, and the freedoms they reflect.
Right.
Okay. So we've talked about the top contenders, and we've touched on how a country can strategically boost its passport power.
Mhm.
But what about countries that are naturally climbing the ranks? The article mentions Belgium's significant increase in visa-free destinations, compared to previous years. Why do you think they've seen such progress?
Belgium's progress is likely tied to their active diplomacy and growing influence within the European Union.
Okay.
Being a key member of the EU gives them a lot of leverage in visa negotiations.
Okay.
It's like they're benefiting from the EU's collective bargaining power on the world stage.
So it's not just about what Belgium's doing individually, it's also about their, strategic alliances and the power dynamics within those alliances.
Exactly.
Fascinating. And this all brings us back to you, the listener.
Yes.
Why should you care about all of this? What does this really mean for you as a passport holder?
Well, for starters, I think it highlights how interconnected our world really is.
Yeah.
The power of your passport is a reflection of how countries relate to each other, how they perceive each other, and how they cooperate or don't on a global scale.
It's a good reminder that our ability to move freely across borders is a privilege, not a right, and that privilege is shaped by all sorts of complex geopolitical factors.
Exactly. And it underscores the importance of global citizenship. A powerful passport can open doors, but it's our responsibility to use that access thoughtfully and engage with the world in a meaningful and respectful way.
Yeah.
So while we might get caught up in the rankings and the visa-free travel perks, it's important to remember the bigger picture. What does your passport represent? What doors does it open for you? And how can you use those opportunities to make a positive impact? That's something I'd encourage everyone to reflect on.
I love that. It's a great reminder that passport power is about so much more than just globetrotting. It's about understanding your place in a complex and interconnected world.
Mm-hmm.
It's really amazing how, this little booklet we carry around can tell such a big story about global power dynamics and national identity and even personal freedom.
Yeah.
It's like holding a key to a whole world of possibilities.
Yeah.
Some more accessible than others, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
And as the world gets, even more interconnected, these issues are only going to become, more important.
Yeah.
We're seeing, countries trying to strategically leverage their passport power, like we talked about with Malta,
Right.
and their citizenship by investment program.
Right. It's like they're playing this global game of chess, making these calculated moves to increase their influence and appeal.
Mm-hmm.
But wouldn't that create some interesting dilemmas? I mean, if countries are actively trying to attract, wealthy individuals through these programs, doesn't that raise questions about, fairness and accessibility?
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
It definitely raises ethical questions about who benefits from these programs and whether they exacerbate global inequalities.
Right.
On the one hand, these programs can, bring much needed investment to countries, boosting their economies, creating opportunities. On the other hand, they can also create a system where citizenship becomes a commodity,
Yeah.
available only to the highest bidder.
So it's not just about a country's inherent qualities anymore.
Right.
It's also about how they choose to position themselves on the global stage and what kind of citizens they're trying to attract.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's a bit like a company building its brand, except the stakes are much higher.
Right.
It makes you wonder what are the long-term implications of these trends?
It's hard to say for sure, but it definitely raises questions about the future of global citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
Will we see a world where traditional notions of nationality become less important,
Yeah.
replaced by a system where individuals can essentially shop for the citizenship that best suits their needs and aspirations.
It's almost like a science fiction novel
Right.
come to life,
Yeah.
but it also makes you think about, the responsibility that comes with having a powerful passport. It's not just about, traveling to exotic destinations. It's about understanding the complexities of the world and engaging with different cultures in a respectful and meaningful way.
Absolutely. It's about, recognizing your privilege and using it to make a positive impact.
Yeah.
For example, someone with, a powerful passport
Mm-hmm.
might have more opportunities to advocate for human rights, promote sustainable development, or simply build bridges between different communities.
Hmm.
It's about seeing your passport as a tool for positive change,
Yeah.
not just a ticket to personal gain.
That's such a powerful perspective. It's a reminder that passport power isn't just about, individual benefit. It's about our collective responsibility to create a more just and equitable world.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected
Yeah.
and that our actions have, ripple effects across the globe.
Mm-hmm.
So the next time you pull out your passport,
Yeah.
take a moment to reflect on what it represents.
Mhm.
Not just for you, but for the world we share.
That's a great takeaway.
Yeah.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of passport power,
Mm-hmm.
what are the key insights you'd like our listeners to remember?
First and foremost, passport power is multifaceted.
Mhm.
It's about more than just visa-free travel.
Right.
It's about a country's economic clout, global perception, and the freedoms enjoyed by its citizens.
We've seen how, certain countries like Luxembourg, Japan, and Singapore have, risen to the top of the rankings, reflecting their, strategic policy decisions and growing global influence.
Right.
And we've also seen how countries can actively shape their passport power through, programs like citizenship by investment. Although this raises important ethical considerations about, fairness and accessibility.
And perhaps most importantly,
Yeah.
we've explored the idea that passport power is not just a personal privilege, but also a global responsibility.
Right.
It's about recognizing our interconnectedness and using our opportunities to create a more just and equitable world.
So as globalization continues, the question remains, will passports become even more important? Or will new forms of global citizenship emerge, challenging traditional notions of nationality? It's a fascinating question with no easy answers.
Yeah, it really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
As our world shrinks and we become more interconnected, how will these passport dynamics evolve?
Mm-hmm.
Will we see more countries adopting, strategies like Malta's citizenship by an investment program? It's certainly a possibility. As globalization, intensifies, countries may feel, increased pressure to compete for talent and investment, and these programs offer a way to do that.
Yeah.
But it's crucial to consider the potential downsides too.
Yeah.
We don't want to create a world where citizenship becomes like a luxury good,
Yeah.
accessible only to the wealthy.
Right, because then it's not really about, global citizenship. It's about global elitism.
Exactly.
It undermines the whole idea of like a level playing field.
And it raises complex questions about national identity and belonging.
Right.
If citizenship becomes transactional, what does that mean for the social fabric of a nation?
It's almost like we're entering uncharted territory here.
Yeah.
The old rules of the game are changing, and we're not quite sure what the new ones will be.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it makes these conversations all the more important.
Yeah.
We need to be thinking critically about the implications of these trends and engaging in thoughtful dialogue about what kind of future we want to create.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of passport power, what's the one key takeaway you'd like our listeners to walk away with?
I think the most important thing to remember is that, a passport is more than just a travel document.
Yeah.
It's a symbol of belonging, a reflection of your country's place in the world, and a tool that can be used to shape a more just and equitable future.
Beautifully said. So the next time you're, flipping through your passport, just remember that it's not just about the stamps. It's about the stories behind those stamps, the connections they represent, and the responsibility they carry. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.